To the person listening to this, perhaps in the middle of a long night or a quiet afternoon, when the world feels a little too loud and yet strangely empty, I wanted to reach out and speak to you just for a moment. As someone who is standing in the same fog, I'm writing this because I suspect you might feel like you're waiting for something that hasn't arrived yet, and you're starting to wonder if it ever will. There is this weight, isn't there, that so many of us carry. A quiet, humming exhaustion that doesn't go away with a night of sleep. And it often feels like we are part of a generation that has been told where to go, but was never given a map that actually matches the ground beneath our feet. It can feel like we are standing in the gap between a world that was promised to us and the reality that we actually woke up to. And in that space, it is so easy to feel entirely lost. But I've been thinking lately that perhaps being lost isn't the failure we've been told it is. Perhaps it's actually a very honest response to a world that feels increasingly difficult to navigate. This is the part no one really says out loud, but it's okay to feel like you're behind, or to feel like the goals everyone else seems to be reaching are just ghosts you've been chasing in the dark. Many of us notice this strange sensation, where time seems to be moving both too fast and not at all, where the days blur into one another, and the future feels less like a destination and more like a looming question mark. It can be incredibly lonely to look around and feel like everyone else has the instructions, like they understand some secret rhythm of life that you just can't quite hear. Some of us find ourselves comparing our messy, internal struggles to the polished, finished versions of other people, and it's easy to believe that we are the only ones who feel like a rough draft that never quite gets finished. We carry this pressure to succeed, to produce, to be something definitive. But what happens when the path is blocked? What happens when the systems we were told to trust feel like they are fraying at the edges? It often leads to a kind of numbness, not a deep sadness necessarily, but a lack of color, a feeling of being disconnected from your own story. Here's what being lost often hides, though. There is a peculiar kind of community in this shared silence, a way that we are all reaching out in the dark, even if we don't realize it. It's easy to think that if you aren't moving forward, you're failing. But sometimes just staying in the room is an act of immense quiet courage. People often carry the idea that they need to have a grand purpose or a clear direction to be worthy of their place here. But some notice that meaning isn't always found in the big milestones. It's often found in the small, unremarkable things, the way the light hits a wall, the taste of a morning drink, or the fact that you're still here, breathing, despite how heavy the air can feel. Many of us feel a sense of guilt for not doing more, for not feeling more, or for simply wanting to disappear into the background for a while. We've been conditioned to think of life as a ladder, and when we can't find the next rung, we feel like we're falling. But what if it isn't a ladder at all? What if it's just a wide, open landscape, and being lost is just another way of being present? This is the part that's hard to sit with. The idea that we might not find the answers we were told to look for, but that we might find something else instead. It can feel like we're waiting for permission to start our lives, or waiting for someone to come along and tell us that we're doing it right. But some of us are starting to realize that the person we're waiting for might just be our own reflection, looking back at us with the same uncertainty. You might notice that your dreams have changed, or that they've become smaller and more fragile, and that can feel like a loss. But maybe it's also a way of becoming more real, of shedding the expectations that were never yours to begin with. I wonder if we've been looking at the dark the wrong way, not as something to be feared or escaped, but as a place where things are allowed to rest and grow away from the glare of everyone's expectations. Hope is a strange thing. It doesn't always look like a bright light or a sudden burst of confidence. Sometimes hope is just the quiet, stubborn decision to see what tomorrow looks like. It's the ability to sit in the middle of the mess and not try to fix it immediately, but to simply acknowledge that it is hard. Many people find that the most honest thing they can do is admit they don't know where they are going. And in that admission, there is a strange, sudden breath of fresh air. There is no need to perform, no need to pretend that you have it all figured out when you're still trying to remember how to feel like yourself. It's okay if you feel a little disconnected from the person you used to be, or the person you thought you'd become by now. Growth is often silent, and it rarely looks like we expect it to. We spend so much time worrying about the time we've lost, the years we think we've wasted. But perhaps no time is truly wasted if it brought you to this moment of stillness. There is a strange kind of bravery in just existing. When the world feels like it's asking for more than you have to give, you don't have to justify your presence with productivity, and you don't have to prove that you are making it to deserve kindness, especially from yourself. Some notice that when they stop trying to find the right path, they start to see the beauty in the one they're actually walking, however winding or overgrown it might be. It's easy to believe that you are broken because you don't fit into the boxes that were built before you were born. But maybe those boxes were never meant to hold someone like you. Being lost might just mean that you are too large for the narrow definitions of success we've been handed. It can feel like you're waiting for the storm to pass, but some find that there is a quiet peace to be found even while the rain is still falling. A way to be okay even when things aren't fine. This isn't about finding a solution or a 5-step plan to get back on track. It's about acknowledging that the track itself might have been an illusion all along. We are all just people, trying our best with the tools we have, often in a world that feels like it's asking us to build something without any materials at all. If you feel tired, let yourself be tired. If you feel unsure, let the uncertainty sit beside you like an old friend. There is no rush to reach a version of yourself that feels complete, because the truth is, none of us ever really are. We are all works in progress, constantly shifting, constantly learning how to carry the weight of our own lives. Many find that the most meaningful connections happen not when they are at their strongest, but when they are honest about how fragile they feel. There is a deep, quiet strength in that vulnerability, the kind of strength that doesn't need to shout to be heard. You might feel like your voice is small, or that your story doesn't matter because it isn't filled with grand achievements. But your existence is a story in itself, and it is one worth telling. It can feel like the future has been stolen, or that the possibilities are shrinking. But some notice that as the world gets smaller, the things that truly matter, a moment of connection, a shared look, a quiet afternoon, become more vivid. Hope, in its most realistic form, is just the endurance of the human spirit. It's not about believing that everything will be perfect, but about believing that we can handle whatever it turns out to be. It's about the quiet realization that you have survived every impossible day you've ever faced. And you're still here, still looking for the light, even if your eyes are a little tired. This is the secret that no one tells you. That most people are just as lost as you are. They're just better at wearing the uniform. When we stop trying to match their pace, we can finally start to find our own. There is no prize for finishing first in a life that was meant to be lived, not won. So if you're feeling like you're drifting, know that it's okay to just drift for a while. You don't always have to be the captain. Sometimes you can just be the boat. The horizon isn't going anywhere, and you don't have to reach it by sunset. It can feel like the world is moving on without you. But the world is just a collection of people who are all, in their own way, trying to find home. Some find that home isn't a place at all, but a way of being. A sense of peace that comes when you stop fighting against where you are. You are allowed to be exactly who you are right now, unsure, exhausted, curious, or numb. You are allowed to take up space without having an explanation for why you're there. The lost generation is often portrayed as something to be solved. But perhaps we are just a generation that is asking better questions. A generation that refuses to accept a path that doesn't lead anywhere meaningful. There is hope in that refusal. There is hope in the way we look out for each other in the small ways. The way we understand the weight of a sigh or the meaning of a long silence. You aren't a failure for feeling the gravity of the world, you're just human. And being human is enough. It has always been enough. We often think that we need to be found by something, a job, a partner, a purpose to feel whole. But maybe we were never missing. Maybe we've been here all along, just waiting for the noise to die down so we could hear ourselves. It's okay if you're still waiting. It's okay if the answers haven't come yet. There is a beauty in the persistence of your presence, in the way you keep showing up to your own life, even when it feels unrecognizable. This is the part where the loop closes, the realization that being lost isn't the opposite of being on the right track. It's often the very place where we start to build a track of our own. One that actually leads somewhere worth going. It's a slow process, and it doesn't happen with a fanfare, but in the quiet, steady rhythm of one day after another. You are not a burden, and you are not a mistake. You are a person who is navigating a complex, beautiful, and often overwhelming world, and you are doing it with more grace than you give yourself credit for. Take a breath and let it out slowly. You don't have to figure it all out tonight. You don't even have to figure it out tomorrow. Just stay here in this moment and know that you are seen and that you are not alone in the dark. The darkness isn't an end. It's just a place where we are all waiting together for the light to change. And it will change in its own time, in its own quiet way. Until then, thank you for being part of this shared landscape. Thank you for your endurance, your quiet heart, and your presence. You matter not because of what you might become, but because of who you are right now, in this very second. Being lost is not a dead end. It is a beginning that hasn't found its words yet. If you felt seen by this letter, thank you for being here.